Hey guys, and welcome back for another video that I'm hiding away in a closet to do because I'm so excited about it and I just couldn't wait to actually do this video. The things that women do wrong in choosing men. Number one, this video is with Jordan Peterson, like the keeper of all knowledge, okay? So number one, we have to give him credit for this. And the other gentleman that he's talking with, they actually give a lot of insight into some of the things that women look for when choosing a mate and actually essentially where they go wrong. So let's take a look, shall we?
There's some mystery about why women seem to be attracted to these so-called Dark Triad traits. And I would say that they're using them as insufficient markers for the ability to or the acquisition of status. So, and narcissists capitalize on that, right? Because a narcissist looks confident. And lots of confident people are competent. But some confident people aren't competent, but they can fool you.
Yes.
And then I think the other explanation is that if you had to choose between a benefit conferrer who could punish free riders and one who couldn't, you should pick the former.
One
who could deal with free riders, who could and would, had the capability to. And so you see this sort of thing. I really like the Disney movie Beauty and the Beast. I think they got it right. And so there's Gaston in that movie, and he's a narcissist, but he has physical prowess. Like, he can't understand why he's not the guy, but he's narcissistic. And then there's the Beast, who's a beast, but he's tameable. And so he can be a benefit conferrer, and he has the capacity.
That's a very good point. So while Gaston has the physical prowess, he's physically attractive, he's attractive to a lot of the people that are in town, he's not the best fit for the beauty. Why? Because his personality traits are too narcissistic. And so she ends up choosing the Beast, who essentially has the ability to protect her and provide for her, but he just doesn't have the physical appearance to go with it. So his confidence isn't on the same level, and so therefore he exhibits a lot less arrogance, a lot more humility, a lot more likable traits in the long term. Whereas Gaston, he can attract you and probably make you feel popular amongst the people. And so that's what a lot of women do. They choose guys based on the type of cars they drive, how they're dressing, how they look in a social situation versus their actual true character traits, which would be beneficial as a person who's trying to become a mom or something like that. So it's more than just what they look like. It's more than just their social status. You actually need to see if they can be a parent.
To inflict cost.
Yes. Yeah, and the two are often correlated in nature. So, like, for example, if you have physical prowess or athletic ability, then you have both the ability to confer benefits, in the form of, say, protection or hunting skills, but also the ability to inflict costs by,
Okay, so let's talk about the Dark Triad then in relationship to agreeableness, because do you want to just tell everybody what the Dark Triad is first so that we're all on the same page?
Yeah, so the Dark Triad originally was narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. So where narcissism is typically marked by a sense of grandiosity, a sense of entitlement. They think they're the most intelligent, the smartest, the most attractive, the most charming, the most skilled, etc. Were, in the words of one of my former graduate students, they think they're hot, but they're not. And I think there's a way in which people do have the ability to assess whether that high self-esteem is warranted or not. Because we have even words in our language for things like arrogant, that kind of connote someone who is thinks that they're more beautiful or more intelligent or more capable than they actually are. So that's narcissism. But the entitlement is, I think, a critical component of narcissism, where they feel, I'm so great, I deserve a larger share of the pie, including the sexual pie, when we get to the issue of sexual conflict and sexual coercion.
Let me just say that's not just a male trait. There are a lot of women that we've seen, particularly on this channel, that are very entitled without reason to be. A person who sees themselves as far more attractive and has a far more higher sexual marketplace value than they actually do obtain. So we as people in general kind of have that fallacy about ourselves. Maybe it's our parental upbringing, maybe it's our own just trying to build up self-esteem. Sometimes we go too far and think too highly of ourselves. It's always good to remain a little bit humble and to know that, yeah, you may be the best right now, but there will always be somebody who will surpass you eventually, because you're going to be older and your time on this planet is so limited. It's better to be gracious and humble than it is to be arrogant. It's not a very likable trait, and it's not a very good trait for the long term of a relationship either, because if you're just seeing your side of a situation throughout the whole relationship, your person that you're with is going to leave you because they feel that they're going to end up feeling that you're selfish.
Machiavellianism, that stems from the prince of, I can't remember how many hundreds of years ago that was written, but it's basically people who pursue an exploitative social strategy. So they are, when we were talking about reciprocity earlier, they will feign reciprocity, feign being good reciprocators, but then they will cheat. And so these are the liars, the cheaters.
Right. So if the patriarchy was based on exploitative power, then Dark Triad personality traits would be adaptively and practically useful and desirable. If that was the case.
Yeah, if that was the case.
Yes, but, yes, okay. Now, and that gets complicated, because one of the things your research has indicated is that there is a manner in which women are attracted to people who manifest Dark Triad traits.
Yeah, I would add the qualifier that it tends to be younger women. So teenagers or women in their early 20s. Women, as they mature and get more experience on the mating market, tend to be less attracted to these Dark Triad characters.
Okay, so here's a hypothesis. It's not that easy to distinguish the willingness to use casual power and control from competence when you're not very experienced. And so the Dark Triad types can feign status-related competence, and they can ensnare naive women.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And they also have some qualities that women genuinely do desire. So they tend to, like the narcissists, tend to put themselves at the center of attention. And one of the things we know about status hierarchies is that the attention structure is very important. That is, the high status people tend to be those to whom the most people pay the most attention. And so women are drawn. One anecdote, a female colleague of mine, very intelligent evolutionary psychologist, went to a conference and found herself very attracted to the organizer of the conference. And then 6 months later, she encountered him, and he was just a normal attendee at the conference, and she didn't find him very attractive. She wondered, what was I thinking? But what it was is he was at the center of the attention structure.
Well, the attention structures.
That actually reminds me of a scenario when I was much younger, and I used to work at a fitness center. And basically there was this guy, he was a manager there, and he was extremely attractive. Like, he was an ex-football player, he had a great body, he had blonde hair, blue eyes, super handsome face. Like, he was like something out of a magazine, okay? And when I tell you everybody had a crush on him, I mean everybody. That dude was very attractive, and he would command attention, but he had some kind of negative personality traits too. You could see the narcissism in him. You could see that arrogance in him. He definitely displayed all of those traits, but at the same time, he definitely had that physical prowess. Like I said, he was an ex-football player. He was very strong looking, and so you can understand. Now, would I be attracted to a man like that? Physically, yes. I would still think he was physically attractive, but would I want a man like that for my life? No. Because at the end of the day, I need somebody who's going to not only be satisfied with having me and not feel like he needs to have Jane and Julie and Sarah, but, somebody that can also attend to my needs, and it's not just about them, which you end up with a person who's narcissist. It's just all about them, like what I need, what I want, and you're not fulfilling it all at this very moment, so I'm mad at you and I'm going to cheat. You got to stay away from guys like that.
Unbelievably reliable indicator of what's valuable, because we don't devote our visual attentive resources to anything that isn't of singular value in the environment. And so that's why precisely why we compete for attention. It's also an extremely valuable resource.
Absolutely.
So,
a valuable and limited resource. It's finite. And so really at every moment in time, we're making decisions about what to allocate our attention to. We are social learners. And one of the things that we try to do is to emulate those who have qualities that are associated with status, and that gets into, and those vary from group to group and subgroup to subgroup. And in the modern environment, we have this kind of a weird situation of a proliferation of status hierarchies, where you can be the top social influencer, where the only thing you have going for you is, a line of makeup or something like that, or nothing at all. I mean, Paris Hilton was like famous for being famous, and so she got a lot of attention, but there was no real benefit there.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing, that we can create all these competence hierarchies, because what it means is that diverse talents have the opportunity to acquire the status that might also alternatively entice them to violence, let's say, because that is associated with status inequality. And so one of the solutions to status inequality is diverse games of competence, as diverse a range as possible.
Yeah, so that was pretty informative, and I agree with that very last point, that it is good that there are a plethora of ways for you to exert your creativity, because if we all had to become basketball players, or if we all had to become astronauts, or any one particular career path or passion, if we all were doing it, every single person on the planet, the competition would be crazy, and you best believe people would be a lot more violent even than they are today. And so make sure you tell me what you think. Do you have a story that you can relate this to? Make sure you leave me a comment, and I will see you next time.